Hello there and welcome to Riding the Pyne, but a new video series we've got underway for you. Yes, that's right. As you can see, we will be playing F1 2020. We're doing a MyTeam career mode. So as you can see here, this is our driver, Mr. Richard de Pyne, RTP number 93. I'm going to be calling him White. That's what they'll be referring to him on the track. So moving along, we're going to have to select a team name. So we've gone with Pyne GP. We spelled it with a Y because, well, apparently Pyne with an I is offensive. So after that, in this career mode, you have to select a sponsor, major sponsor. So as you can see there, we want something with a juicy signing bonus, but you can see underneath the main logo is a challenge to do, and if you complete that challenge or that goal, you get a bonus. So we've gone with Loop here. We get $5.1 million and achieve 5 points finishes during the season to get another $4.25 million. I think it's pretty achievable. After that, we've got to go select our power unit. It was a hard choice to make, really, depending on what sort of engine you like, you know, looking at the performance and durability, but also the contract cost. I thought that Honda wasn't a bad option with an 86 performance, 76 durability. They've been pretty consistent in the actual Formula 1 season, so I thought, why not give them a crack here, save a bit of cash. But that brings us onto this screen here, which is a teammate. So we need to select a teammate. There's several different things that they're rated on. Experience is how much points they're going to bring at the end of every race. Then you've got their racecraft, which is their overtaking ability, awareness, which is how much they're going to avoid any collisions, and pace is just how quick they'll be able to bash out a single lap. I didn't want to spend too much money on a driver at the moment because I want to develop the car more, and I think our biggest bang for buck is Juan Mel Correa. I don't want to really pick Mahavir for $750. I'd rather spend the extra $250,000 and get a more rounded driver. So that's who we're going to have on the back up there. So we're going to have $1.8 million left as spending money after we make all of those decisions there. We have to select our livery. Now, normally with Riding the Pyne, I have my co-host Nathan, or Nate, as he's more popularly known. And we decided on a color scheme already. As you can see here, actually, there's some Michael Schumacher and 70th anniversary liveries, which look pretty cool. But we're not going to go with them. We're going to go with something different. So we've got a color scheme organized. So I'm going to design the car. I might actually leave the reveal of the car livery to a bit later on. Although I think I'm actually going to use it in the thumbnail. So what does it matter? Either way, hopefully you can't actually see it in the background here. But we need to create an emblem. And Riding the Pyne, you know, pine, tree, made sense to go pick the tree emblem. You can have a background, but none of the backgrounds really suited when I was trying to combo it together. So ultimately I've just got the emblem on its own, just fading the colors around so that you can see we've got sort of green, and then we get a nice little brown as well in the middle. I reckon it's a sleek looking little color, sleek little emblem for us that's going to be planted and everyone's going to remember it. So this is the structure and assists I'm going to be working on. Going to do 50% race length. I bumped the AI difficulty to 85. Before the race actually, or before qualifying, jumped it up to 90. We've got vehicle damage full, race starts manual, tire deg normal. We've got braking assist off. I do have a dynamic racing line and everything, but that's only really because I don't play this. I'm not professional at this, and I've got a controller as well. So I know, go sue me, but yeah. Full qualifying, full practice. So let's jump in, have a look at the new MyTeam. I don't know what we'd put this, like hub, like this is like in the factory basically. So this is me just trying to figure out like what sort of activities and training I wanted to do. Ultimately, I settled on a driver training camp, and we've got the aero and chassis focus up top there, just before the car reveal and the opening race in Melbourne. Jumping over the R&D chart, was just trying to figure out like what I wanted to do with the car, like what do I want to start putting some research and development into. I know that our aero is a bit underdeveloped comparatively, and I was going to do something, but once I realized that if I do this minor upgrade for the engine, it would actually be ready for the first race in Melbourne. So I thought, you know what, no, I'm just going to do that, give myself like every little bit of advantage that I can, and ultimately went with that. So no other upgrades for now. As it stands right now, let me just like sit back and you can see the car. So there it is, the Pyne GP. I don't have a little cute nickname for it. Let's call it the FN1, Felix and Nate. That's where that comes from. Felix and Nate, the FN1. And I'm excited to get it out on track. I'm just sort of going to show you around here because this is a really nice addition to the game where, because it's our own team, we're managing our own facilities. So there's all these different facilities for chassis, engine, personnel, marketing. As you can see, there's all these like upgrades that you can make, but you need bulk cash to go and do it. And I don't really know. I need to learn this system a little bit more. So I'm not going to do anything for now. I just want to do a race or two utilizing the systems I do know, and maybe we'll come back to this in the near future and sort it out. But like, look, without further ado, let's go jump into practice at Melbourne. So I'm not going to bore you too much with the practice. Just I was just running some drills and things like that, trying to get the car sorted and, you know, get a feel for it. It's nice to drive, but I really wanted to give it a massive crack in qualifying and see what it's really capable of. But I like where it's sitting at the moment. I'm not going to, as I said, not going to waste too much time on the practice. Let's just jump into qualifying. So coming in for our first flying lap of the F1 2020 career mode in the Pyne FN1, and I gotta say, like, it was I remember the first corner was a little bit shaky, but then I started to like fall into a bit of a rhythm, and I actually felt pretty good about the lap. Like, the further I got into it, I just started to groove with the car more and more. Now, obviously, there's 3 levels of qualifying, and the top 16 drivers will progress through to Q2. That means you can get higher up on the starting grid when the race begins the next day. So we're coming into the end of the lap, a little bit hairy coming out on that, but penultimate corner here, nice little, keeping the racing line nice and tight. We plant the car pretty well to come around this bend and have maximum exit speed, which is good. And we come over across the line. You can see it says P4 there, but that's because not everybody raced. As you can see here, we ended up in P14. That's after everybody's come out and set their first flying lap. So I wanted to do one more just to make sure that we were all good with that. But there was a fair bit of traffic on the track, and I mean, you can see this, like, we're not even out of the first sector and we're already down on our time. We're already plus, 5/100ths. You can see it there with the delta time in the top right hand corner. It's not really going well for me. We end up remaining, actually surprisingly, ahead. We actually come out of Q1 and get into Q2. We stay in P15. So coming to Q2, and this we only have one set of tires. We've only got one set of soft tires because we've got 3 sets of soft tires, which means once you use them once, you don't really get the same sort of pace out of them anymore. And the first corner was just a bad entry, and there was just no coming back from it. I didn't feel confident with this lap, and I sort of just used up a pair of tires for no reason. You can see the result there. We're starting at 16th place on the grid, which is no problem for me. We've exceeded expectations already, so let's jump into the race day and see how it goes.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal, and it's make or break here at Albert Park, home of the Australian Grand Prix since 1996, and home to round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. So here we are at Albert Park Circuit. 3.3 miles of public roads, closed for the weekend of course, make for a bumpy surface with little undulation. There are 16 corners around the lake, with the best passing opportunities coming at turn 1 and turn 3. Can Mercedes start with victory in their bid to win a 7th consecutive Constructors' title? Could Ferrari or Red Bull establish an advantage early on? And with 22 cars on the grid, how quickly can the new team find their footing? Well, it's great to be back, Anthony Davidson. We've got a lot to talk about this year.
That's right, Crofty. It felt like a long winter, but it's good to finally be back. I have to think the usual suspects will battle it out at the front, but there are always going to be some teething problems early on in the season, so whoever can keep on top of their issues will have the advantage today.
As I mentioned earlier, we're up to 11 teams this season, with a new entry run by, well, of all things, an owner-driver. That's something we haven't seen in this sport since Hector Rabac over 4 decades ago. So how are they looking so far?
It's hard to imagine how a small operation like that could survive in the ruthless world of Formula One. And yet here they are, first ever race looking surprisingly strong. But there are no points for qualifying. Let's see how they fare in the Grand Prix proper.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Verstappen, Charles Leclerc and Sainz, Albon, Norris, Ricciardo and Esteban Ocon, Perez, Stroll, Pierre Gasly and Raikkonen, Kvyat, White, Antonio Giovinazzi and Kevin Magnussen, Grosjean, Correa, Russell and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
So there you have it. You saw the grid. You can see where we're going to be starting, and 16th, still not bad. I mean, like, it's our home Grand Prix. We're going to want to do well. We'll try our best, but the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to jack the fuel load up, because when I was running the drills in practice, our fuel management on this car is not good at all, and I know I'm going to want to go pretty hard in this race to try and get a good result, so I'm going to add an extra 2.5 laps of fuel. I wasn't too sure. This is me just sort of like trying to play around, figure out, is there a better strategy to go on to? Now, apparently the projected race time here, if we go from the soft tyres to the medium tyres, means that we get an extra 1.5 seconds out of it. But I was a bit weary, but I thought, no, we'll go into the race with this strategy. I do remember that on the old strategy that I changed, it was a soft tyre until lap 10 onto the hard. So I thought, if I'll see how the tyres are going when we get to about lap 9, and if it's a bit too shaky, then yeah, we'll just revert back to that old strategy. So let's get into the race. Finally, first race of F1 2020, the race that I was supposed to go and see in person, but it got cancelled. So here we are, we'll go and live it for real. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights revving the car, and the lights are out. The Australian Grand Prix is underway. It's initially a pretty good start from us. We dive into the middle of the track, not too sure how we want to get ourselves around Raikkonen, but at the last second we take a massive dive along the outside, cut across the grass quite illegally, let the AlphaTauris go past us, and we just keep our heads down, make sure we don't do anything stupid. It was a bit of a silly dive in the first place to begin with, but an opportunity opens up again. Both the Alphas going slow. We dive in on the inside, we overtake one of them, we give a little love tap to the back of Kvyat, but they see the back step out a little bit, but we keep it in check. Grosjean comes on alongside us. We keep the foot down. We make sure we keep our nose ahead of us, and we clear up. We move up into P13, I believe that was at that point in time, which is an awesome start to the race, and we just need to knuckle down and keep putting the pressure on now. We're going for the other AlphaTauri up ahead of us, which is Pierre Gasly. So we're in P14, and now as we move into the end of the first lap, that we've been keeping the pressure on, we go for a really late dive here. Quite illegal. I mean, like, in real life, that wouldn't stick. That would just not work out very well at all for anybody. But, you know, Gasly, he understandably comes up, gives us a knock behind to try and say, yo, what the actual hell's going on here? But we've moved up into P13 by the end of the first lap of the Australian Grand Prix, which is a great result. We've made up 3 positions. So we're moving on to lap 3. We've got the DRS going. So now we can sort of like begin to set into a race pace and see what we can do here. But ahead of us is Stroll, Ocon and Norris, and we're all within DRS range of one another, and as you'll see as time goes on, we just never seem to break this stranglehold. Like, we move on the way here to lap 18 and lap 8. God, jumping forward a little too far for myself, aren't I? We're on to lap 8, and we've still got this train going. Like, we just can't seem to break it. So as we transition one more lap later into lap 9, we get a really good exit out of this chicane here. We've got the DRS. This is sort of the opportunity we've been waiting for. We've been burning a lot of fuel. We've been putting on the ERS. We go for a late dive, and somehow we actually manage to get all 3 in one hit. Norris comes back to fight us here, but we keep on the inside line. We keep our nose ahead, and somehow, in the space of a few seconds, after being stuck behind them for nearly 10 laps, we managed to make 3 overtakes in one hit with a really bold dive, but the fortune favours the bold in Formula 1, and that's what happens there. So we're moving on to lap 10. This is where I wanted to check the tyres, and my tyres, you can see on the right-hand side, are absolutely cooked. So I thought, nah, I can't risk it. I want to try and maintain the position as best we can, so we're going to come in at the end of this lap. So we come in at the end of the lap to put on the hard tyres, which is the initial strategy that was suggested to us. And Unfortunately, at the same time, the 3 men that we overtook earlier, except for... No, sorry, I've got that wrong. So it's Norris that comes in with us and Stroll goes on ahead. So I'm hoping that the pit stop is the correct decision to make. Swap the tyres over, plant it, off we go. We just got to keep our head down, try and make sure that we use these tyres through to the end. You know, don't burn them out too quickly, but still stay ahead and end up in a decent position, you know, because we're quite close to the points. It would be nice to stay in the points. So we move forward a couple of laps. We're on lap 12, and I can see that I'm in P11, and I'm thinking, how on earth am I in P11? I could have sworn that we were in the points paying position. And as we come around onto this main straight, we can see that Stroll is in the pits, so we did actually beat him on that pit strategy. His overcut didn't work, and we have kept the 10th position, which means we can walk away with a point. But ahead of us, we've got Perez, who's 4 seconds on a softer compound tyre, battling Sainz, and I'm thinking maybe I'll have a battle with Sainz later on in the race if Perez can slow him down. But you can see them up here just going toe-to-toe, but actually it ends up not quite working out as we move on to lap 16. And I can still see here that they've actually extended the time in the top left-hand corner. Now Perez is 5.7 seconds ahead. But as I'm coming around on the main straight, I'm getting distracted looking into the pit lane, realizing that some of the front runners haven't actually, are only just pitting now. And that leaves me completely defenseless to Lando Norris, who just dives in on the inside. So all of a sudden I have to fight back. I push hard on the outside, absolutely clip him, very similar to the Hamilton-Albon incident the other day. Spin Norris out. I've saved myself a little bit there, but this lack of concentration, it's not going to cut it in F1, man. We gotta fucking put our head down and go hammer and tongs. So we move forward onto the next lap, lap 18. We've got Ocon sitting behind us that I don't want to overtake, but Charles Leclerc has ended up behind us from his pit strategy. So he's on the medium compound tyre, and he's giving it to Ocon. And as while Ocon is defending against him, I'm thinking, cool, this is going to give me a chance to move ahead of Ocon and really actually cement my place here in this potential P7. So we jump ahead to lap 19, and it doesn't really last that long. Charles Leclerc driving in that Ferrari does a little bit of a lock up here, but coming to the end of lap 19, he manages to stick it, keeps his foot to the ground, makes his way around the outside of Ocon, gets the move done. He's ahead, and now he's going to be gunning for me. So I'm just going to let him pass when the time comes, and it doesn't take long at all. It's actually at the end of lap 20. I just stay along to the side, let him move ahead. There's no point me battling him. He is not somebody that I'm in contention with at the moment in the car that I have. He's helped me out a little bit with Ocon, so I'll just let him get past me, not bother to defend, not bother to lose the time, and hopefully we can still stay in this P8. But just when I think it's not going to get any better, ahead of us, Sergio Perez, who has been just flying further and further ahead of us, has an engine failure, cataclysmic engine failure. He pulls over to the side, he retires from the race, which means that both Charles and I gain a free position, and I moved myself back up into P7, which is great. So I'm more than happy just to keep on rolling through it like this. But as we come onto this back straight here, we get a message. Antonio Giovinazzi's out of the race, and the full safety car comes out. Now here's the incident here. He's back behind us, and it's just a simple engine failure. He pulls the car over to the side of the track, parks it there, but the full safety car comes out. Now this is crunch time. This is big brain energy time. What am I going to do? And I make the decision at the last minute, you know what? We're coming in on this lap. We have to. We're just going to have to come in. I mean, these tyres are getting cooked a little bit. Ocon is in a better car. He is on fresher tyres. It's going to make it harder for me to defend at the later part of the race. So I have to gamble it all and come in for the soft compound tyres. So we make the dive in on lap 22, and we come in to make the switch. We do leave a few positions. We let a few positions go. So we were in P7, and by the time Ricciardo passes us, we're in P11. And I'm slightly worried because this is the gamble though. This is what I just have to make sure that my restart is really solid. So here we are at the restart at the end of lap 24. We're sitting up behind Ricciardo. We've saved up a lot of fuel, so we've got a plus 114 laps in the tank. We pump it up to rich mix. Our ERS is full. We're on the softest compound tire, and we just fucking go for it. We put the foot down, try to get into a position, but the thing is, we give it another lap or two, and the DRS will become available, and I think that's the time where we might get that. that. The opportunity to take over and clean up some places, and it's fine. I'm happy to wait. We've still got some time left in this race, but little do I realize just how soon the opportunity arises for us. We come down to the end of the fourth turn. Here it is, a huge dive like we did at the beginning of the race. We almost make contact with Ocon, but we've got the faster tyre, we've got the better grip. We squeeze him, we give him a little bit of a tap on the outside there. We clear around, and look at that. We're back in the same position we were in before the safety car. We're behind Charles Leclerc, but this time we are on the soft compound tyre. It's lap 27. I've been hounding him this whole time. I need a good exit out of this. There's only 2 laps left in the race to go. Bang, perfect exit. The exit speed is off the charts. The DRS is enabled. We've got the rich mix energy going. Bang, we come in late on the brakes. There's a gap. We find it. We move ourselves in front of Charles Leclerc up into P6. Unbelievable scenes here. And after this point, I was just all about finding the next move. I was just hunting down Alex Albon because I thought, nah, we've got an opportunity for this. So I'm burning through my ERS something fierce. And so we're on the second last lap by this point in time, and all of a sudden my ERS is dead. I've burnt through a lot of my fuel, and I've left myself open, like incredibly vulnerable, because I completely forget that Charles Leclerc is behind me in the better car. And look at this, on the straight coming into the last lap, he gets ahead of us. I'm thinking, oh boy, don't tell me I lost the position, but look at this, he locks up, we dive in, quick reflexes on the inside, we put the power down, we get ahead of him. Now, by this point in time, it's the last lap. There's no point me trying to chase Alex Albon, because I was at one point 2 tenths behind him. There's no way I can catch him now. I just need to make sure that I don't lose this position from Leclerc, and that's what we do. We put in a solid lap, no mistakes either way. It's still fine margins. He's only about 2 tenths behind us, but we push forward onto the main straight, and we come home for our first finish in Formula 1 with Pyne GP, and it's a monstrous 6th place. Unbelievable scenes here. We use the safety car to our advantage like nothing else, and it gets us driver of the day as well.
We've witnessed some great battles on the streets of Melbourne today, and they've taken a fantastic win. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
So with that, we collect 8 points for the Drivers' Championship and 8 points for the Constructors' Championship. An absolutely mega race where a lot of things fell to our advantage. The safety car, the gamble on the tyre strategy. It was things, you got to take these sort of risks in Formula 1, and it paid off big time for us. Juan Manuel Correa doing well, coming up into 16th place. Look, that's going to bring us to the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment if there's anything you reckon we should do with the car, anything you reckon we should do with the team. But look for us, check in the description, look for us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, Riding the Pyne. And don't forget to check us out. We run a podcast, my friends and I, Nate, we do a podcast. You can find it, it's called Riding the Pyne. It's on Apple Podcasts, and you can also find it on Spotify. But thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making it and racing. It's good to see the F1 back. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, bye-bye.